Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading channel. If today is your first visit with us, we want to extend to you a very warm welcome and invite you to view any of our over 500 videos that we have arranged for your convenience in playlists, as we are confident you're going to find something both useful and entertaining to watch. If you have been here before, welcome back. If today is your birthday, we want to wish you a very happy birthday. In our previous Wednesday automotive videos, we have discussed in the past how it makes more financial sense to purchase a vehicle that it is fairly basic and then add things. For example, if you buy a vehicle without GPS, you can add a GPS to it for a couple of $100, and if you want to add it in as a custom, not a custom, as a factory option, you're talking about thousands of dollars, correct?
Yes.
And that's what we did. This is my CC. This has become a really favorite car of mine, and it was fairly basic, even though the CC was intended to be an upper class vehicle. In other words, it has leather seats and it has some fun stuff. Also, it was very basic. For example, it didn't have a GPS unit. It had a very basic head unit, you know. So we wanted to upgrade it, and today we're going to show you some of the upgrades we did in this car, and also talk about some general ideas on how you can do it yourself, not only for a VW CC, but any car you might have. So here we are, and we have our new head unit installed, which immediately made the car look much more modern than it was before. It had a decent unit before, but the bezels were very large, as we are going to show you in this short clip.
So you have to pay the marina fee for the slip, whether the boat's there or not, correct?
No. So as you can see, this improved drastically, and I'm going to show you it. The whole unit has virtually no bezels right and left, and I've installed a car launcher, the Agama car launcher, and as you can see, this provides all the information you need. It has an annoying bell. No, sorry.
So
sorry
initially, not to throw you off track, but initially when this arrived, it was an Android system, and you were able to download this from the App Store.
Right, it's still an Android system.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's not a typical Android look. So.
And as you need, is very quickly to acquire satellites. It has a GPS antenna that we installed, and one of the biggest safety improvements is that we now have a backup camera. Right? Mm-hmm. And as you can see, it's fully integrated. It has the lines that show you where you're turning, and also the distance lines, and that automatically modernizes and makes the car more safe. I've definitely enjoyed using this ever since we installed it. Now, a couple of things. If you install one of these, this specific one was only $104 from the Everything store. Mm-hmm. And was specifically made for this car, so we didn't have to buy any bezels or anything, right? It was just
right, and it even came with that CAN bus. Is
right.
That what it's called?
Then the CAN bus ensures that all the buttons from your steering wheel actually will work without having to do any modification. So it's a plug and play kind of.
Right.
It's a plug and unplug and play, because we had to unplug part of it. Remember?
We did. So that was one of the little weird things, was we couldn't get the radio to turn off when you turn the ignition off. And in doing a little bit of reading in the listing from the store of Everything, there was a little blurb that said there was a little like the not yellow, it was orange and red to an orange wire, I think, and it was just a little connector, and we went in there and disconnected that, and then everything worked fine. And
this is very customizable. You can put the logo of your car, and it has all the logos. This is a Volkswagen, so we have a Volkswagen logo. It tells you the time. It tells you that we're connected to, I don't know which Wi-Fi we are, or we're in the house. Mm-hmm. Sorry. We see 7 satellites. It tells us it's partly cloudy and 73 degrees. And we have our radio, our navi. You can have external and internal music, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, the phone, Bluetooth, and everything works from the, I just did it from the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. So everything works as it should. It doesn't have any actual buttons. It is all touch screen, but it has some dedicated areas that you can touch to increase and decrease the volume, to go home and to go back. And also you still have all your apps from the Android. So this is a great, I would say, a great upgrade.
Okay.
What do you say? What do you think?
I do say, but I think we need to show them the GPS options here, because you talked about that right off the bat.
Well, it comes with a built-in GPS, so it has an antenna and everything. Now, this is not the unit itself, but this specific launcher allows you to have more than one GPS. So we have the Here app, and this is Google Maps. And I have no idea what this is. Let me see. Oh, it's still the Here. Okay. So that was probably an automatic or a... So, as you can see, it's fairly responsive, you know. You have access to the internet. It's a little too responsive because I didn't touch it right now. You have access to the internet if you want. And in the future I might have here a dedicated hotspot. Now I connect it to my phone because it has full Bluetooth. But if you didn't want to do that, you can have a hotspot and have internet everywhere. But
Right.
and you have all your apps. I mean, everything is really cool. And I have it to automatically adjust from day and night. What do you call them? Brightness. And when you're in the Navi, if you put a destination, it will put the map here. I just show you different things that it can do. And it has long touches. You can have your speedometer here, which is kind of neat and sporty, right?
Yeah. I actually like the compass that it had on there to begin with.
Yeah, I just saw different options, you know.
Yeah.
And it says Volkswagen, as you can see, because it is a Volkswagen. And I believe it has every brand that you can imagine in it, right?
Yeah, as an option.
Correct.
Going through.
But again, the biggest thing, and we did a couple of other things. We added 2 USB ports. One peculiarity of the CC, it has only 2 buttons, but it has 4 additional buttons that have nothing, or spaces, I guess, not buttons. And
Ports.
now this can be a little intimidating, but we added 2 USBs, and I say intimidating because you have to do some cutting, but
Yeah.
the worst case scenario, if you break one of these, are a couple of dollars, even at the dealership. It is not a big deal. So we did bite the dust and we did it. But speaking of installing it, installing the radio is pretty straightforward. You will need the adapters for your car. If you buy a unit specific to a car like this one, it will come with those adapters, right? And I'm talking about harness adapters, so you don't have to cut and splice.
Right, so there's no wiring really involved. It's just disconnect your old radio and plug this one right in.
Right, now, where it gets a little tricky is getting all the cables around, right? And in our case, we had to take apart most of the car in essence, right? We took panels off.
Yes.
And we removed the back seat completely to get access to the back.
Yeah.
For the back camera. For the radio, if you only put a radio, it's really pretty straightforward, right?
It was like 4 screws. Take off that panel, 4 screws, and pull it out, and it was good.
Right. Now, if you were to install other things, like we have the USBs here, that can get a little more complex. And maybe we'll do a video at some point of showing you how you can do that. Using a Dremel tool, in essence, you know, the go-to-everywhere tool. So the last thing, I want to show you a couple of things in the trunk because they relate to how you can install a backup camera, which is an important aspect. As you can see, the camera is very inconspicuous. It really hides very nicely under the bumper, and this is probably one of the hardest cars to put a camera because the trunk, as you can see here, which is most people have the license plate here, right? So this car does not, it is below, so you have access. So if I'm to say, this is one of the harder cars to do this, but we wanted to show you here, and that might be hard to show. We have not put everything together yet. So you need to take panels off, and we took panels off, and then you need to find openings that go all the way through, right? I mean, some of them don't go all the way through. And once you do that, it is an exercise of fishing around cables, right? You will have to make, for some cameras, probably for all cameras, you will have to make a hole in your bumper, and that can be scary, I guess, for some people.
Yeah.
It is really not as bad as it sounds. I think the hardest part was going from the camera, and as you can see the cables are here, those are our cables there. So going from the camera to the cables, this was the hardest part of the operation, and it took us the longest, right? Another thing we learned, one of the interesting things in this car, and I presume in other cars as well, is that when we first installed the camera, we thought everything was fine, because we were taking the measurements of the voltages of the wires that go to the lights, and we thought we were all good. And then it happened to be the brake lights. This car has an automatic brake, so it applies the brakes when it is parked by itself. And unfortunately, when I released the brake, the camera picture went off. So you need to make sure that where you do it, and the most common place, of course, is your backup lights, which in this car presents a very interesting dilemma, because my backup lights are here.
So the backup lights are in the trunk, but then where you install the camera is actually down below, and so these other lights here, that's your brake lights.
Right.
So that didn't work.
Right, but in most cars that will not be a problem.
Right.
In most cars that will be a much more straightforward thing. So what you need to do, first of all, don't be afraid. There are many of YouTube videos that will tell you for your specific car how to remove panel and how to access things, right? So it might be a little scary in the beginning, but really just do it. Just go over it, right? Go with it, for it, around it. I don't know what the right thing is. So do it, and I can tell you there are a lot of videos that I found very frustrating, because they will say very specific step-by-step instructions, and then I will say, here we are, we're done, almost like we did, right? Here we are done, we are finished with this. In any case, I want to say you can do that, and it adds a lot of value to the car, right? This car with GPS only, nothing else added to it, was sold for $5,000 more new. And our total cost, this camera came with the GPS we bought, so for $104 we drastically improved both the safety of the vehicle and also the utility of the vehicle, and modernized it.
Yeah.
We live out in the woods, I don't know what's happening.
It's the fall season where all the acorns start
Oh, the acorns are falling?
Yeah.
Anyway, this was more of a vlog than a how-to video, but my main point is don't be afraid to move things, right? As you can see, we have removed the panel here completely.
Yeah, there's a plastic panel that covers this metal here that's not back in place yet.
Is it back in the car? I don't know if it's even in the car.
It's somewhere here.
Yeah, it's somewhere here.
We didn't lose it. I know it's here.
So, all I say is go for it, right? Don't be afraid.
Yeah. And if it came apart, it can go back together. And while there are sometimes that percussive persuasion is applicable, not always when it comes to body panels. That's
right.
More of a making sure you're getting everything aligned to get them back together so you don't break clips.
And in most cars, the panels are removed with little buttons like this. Now we have a dedicated kit.
You're right, with the tool for that.
Right, and I think it's right here. And there are different types and shapes of this. And this makes it easy. You just go under panels, you know, as you can see here. And you can pop them. I'm not going to pop it now because it's almost dark and we'll lose it. Or, you know, if you want to open a panel like this, you know, you see it's a very straightforward process. So for most cars, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see these kind of buttons, you know, like this. And all those are pop-ups. Is that what you call it? And if you can buy one of these for $3 or $4 at Walmart. These are not very expensive tools.
Don't you have another tool that also?
Yeah, it's a little more expensive, but I don't know if I. So you might need something. You might get lucky, and your car might be easy to access. But if it is not, this became invaluable for us in getting to the bumper, inside the bumper, and reaching it. I think we went through this little hole here, which is actually one of our sensors that will pop back in there. You know. But as you can see, this has backup sensors also that are aftermarket. So we, in essence, put this in, and in our case, because it was really a very hard car, what we end up doing is removing the license plate light, and that gives you a nice big opening, right? I mean, it's about this big, I think.
Right, and that allowed us to fish the wires through, but the camera place where you drilled for the hole for it was actually between the two backup lights.
Right, so by removing one, we had access to everything we needed. Right. So look, be creative, and you're going to find a way to do it. We hope you found this vlog video of some use, and if you did, we will appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other button works as well. Share, like, subscribe. Let us know what you would like to see in additional episodes of the channel. From the Dr. Wizard, Elpida, and the Urban Homesteading channel, wash your hands, put your mask on, and stay safe. We're going to see you soon. Farewell, friends.